Booking holidays used to mean one thing: a trip to the travel agent, a printed brochure, and a price you just had to accept. I did that for years, until one day I didn't, and that decision changed everything. Now, I've always loved holidays, and let's be honest, who doesn't? But for years, like a lot of people, I was a slave to the package deal. Back in the day, it meant a walk down the high street, flicking through a shiny brochure that smelled weirdly of plastic and crushed dreams. Now it's all booking apps and websites, same story, just in your dressing gown. Before you know it, you're clicking book now on some all-inclusive tin box with 200 strangers all flying to the same resort, eating the same buffet spaghetti and taking the same camel photo for Instagram. I know, because I've done it. And I get it, it's safe, it's easy, it's just one bill to pay, often in instalments, but let's be honest, it's also a bit beige. Food's never quite hot, the excursions are overpriced, and if you're not rich or able to sneak away in term time, you're paying top dollar to be herded like airport cattle. And as I found out later, it's often more expensive. And yet, I was part of the package cult until one day, I escaped. My moment of truth, it started with a disappointment. I booked a package holiday to Zante, and then COVID had other plans. The trip was cancelled and I lost money. The travel agent gave me a refund so partial it felt more like a tip for good behaviour than actual compensation. So in a fit of mid-pandemic madness, I used what was left to buy a sharing and narrow boat. Yes, a boat, I know. It's peaceful, I love it. And not long after buying the boat, my daughter, my ray of sunshine, Sue, turns to me and says, "Dad, for my birthday I want to go to Auschwitz." Now I'll admit, not on most 15-year-olds list, but I admired her curiosity. So I did what I always used to do. I went straight to the package holidays, high street travel agents, the deals in the window, Expedia, all the usual suspects. But here's the problem, we end up letting our dates dictate the price. And suddenly I'm looking at nearly £300 each for a 3-night Krakow trip, and that didn't even include airport transfers, which for me is the one last bastion of the package holiday. At least they take care of that. So I looked at the itinerary. What were they actually offering for the money? A flight, a hotel, and an Auschwitz tour. 3 items. So I thought, hang on, I'm not that daft. What if I just booked them myself? And I ended up with flights for £60 each, hotel £100 for 3 nights, and in my opinion in a better area than some of the tours are operating, and an Auschwitz tour for £70 each. There you go, total of £180 per person. And here's the kicker, at the hotel we met people who'd paid the full whack through a travel agent. Same flight, same hotel, same Auschwitz tour. In fact, one couple were even on the same minibus as us. And they'd paid over £100 more per person. For what, an email confirmation and a logo? But that was the moment I knew DIY travel wasn't just possible, it was smarter and preferable. And from there it snowballed. Oh, and by the way, since then I've sent Sue and her mum to Auschwitz during school half term for £94 each. I have a gift, it seems. Coming up next, what I've managed since going rogue. So after my DIY Krakow awakening, I didn't stop. I couldn't. It turns out cheap holidays are a gateway drug. So let's roll through some of what I've pulled off since cutting the travel agent cord. Bear in mind, this is all just in the last 3 years. First up, if you're gonna do it, go big. 12 days in Tokyo with Book. It was their dream trip, and if that wasn't enough of a surprise, I also managed to nail this. There's an activity that Book knows nothing about, so it's the big reveal.
This is very anticlimactic because I can't get it open.
We had this waiting in reception when we got here. I see that smile again. Tell them what it is.
Give the museum. Oh my god! How? Ghibli!
Dad delivers.
Dad delivers.
We stayed up all night back in May to get these tickets and we failed. So I have a Ghibli guy. You know what I mean, mate? I have a guy.
Yeah, you have a guy, yeah.
Yeah. Dad always has a guy.
For context for the YouTube, I am very excited, but I'm autistic, so I don't show that very well. But I am very, very excited and very thankful. But I'm autistic. Sorry, it wasn't like, those videos of like kids opening their Christmas presents and they start running around.
You're 19.
Yeah,
And you did whoop.
I did. But I'm
brilliant.
also autistic.
I haven't seen my child this excited for a long time. This is exciting.
Yes.
Yeah, nobody had been able to get Studio Ghibli tickets guaranteed. I managed it. Yes, I used British Airways. Yes, I did a package. But I chose the dates. I found the deal, then I fed that data into British Airways and I was prepared to go elsewhere. It just so happens sometimes you can get a good deal as a package, but you control the parameters. I knew what the cheapest time to fly. I knew I wanted to go in June. Didn't quite want to go when the travel agents wanted us to go. Typical cost in June, from my research before I got smart, was about £2,000 per person, which is why we didn't go for many years. Our saving, £900 each. That's unbelievable. So I'm on to something here. So me and Buck decided to have a pre-Christmas break to Sofia. Buck was in uni. I just needed to get away from work for a couple of days. We got 3 nights for £82 a person. That's less than a single ticket to Winter Wonderland in London. We had a great time. Didn't do anything particularly great. We had a few day trips out. We had some great food. We got cold, but we experienced another country, warts and all. Nice-ish hotel, good time flights. Again, £82. If you'd done that as a package, you'd have been looking at about £180 each. You're talking savings already. So I'm feeling like I'm on a bit of a roll now. Gets Christmas out the way, a couple more trips on the boat. And then Buck's got an online friend they've been talking to for years. Really wanted to go. So I managed to nail Toronto and Niagara Falls for 8 days. £350 each for flights and hotel. Now this one took a bit of doing. If you were to go online now, you'd find you'd be lucky to get a flight to Toronto for $350. In fact, when we sent Buck earlier this year, it cost us $430. But we flew via Reykjavik. So yeah, doing this means making compromises. Yes, it was cold in Reykjavik. It was nice in Toronto because we went there in May. It was just right for Niagara Falls, no crowds. But we saved so much money, we were even able to afford a little side quest in New York for a couple of days. Boom. $350 each. The cheapest I could find as a package was getting on for £800 to £1,000. DIY saving was huge. £350 each. You can pay that for a weekend to Paris. Talking of Paris, next up was 3 nights with Suin in August. Total of £150 each. It's getting a bit steep for me, but bear in mind this is August during the school holidays and the Olympics had just been on, so the place was buzzing. But what really made it magic for me, Suin was just coming up on 17. It was the first trip I'd taken with her as a young woman, and she bloomed in Paris. We got to do all the things she wanted to do. But again, if you'd done that as a package, you'd have been looking at about £300 each. We made a couple of compromises. We flew out of Gatwick instead of Manchester, but we saved nearly £500. As you can tell, I'm on a roll. It is becoming addictive. So we planned a quick trip to Bilbao in October with my sister. Guggenheim, Pinchos, sunsets, rooftop dinners. The weather was still nice, but not too hot, not too crowded. And I think we only saw one other Brit. That's my kind of holiday. That came in at £123 each. Again, if you'd done it with a package, you wouldn't have been disappointed with $250 each. Nice weekend in Bilbao. DIY savings, $130 each, that's nearly £400, which more than paid for the next holiday. These pre-Christmas getaways are becoming a thing. Decided to take Buck to Athens. Buck's a massive fan of Percy Jackson, wants to see some of the sights, so we did Athens in December. £97 each. Worth every penny. Again, a package would have been over £200 each. Massive savings, that covered our food, our change, and the really good one with this was, our flight was slightly delayed on the way back. We got more compensation back than we paid for the bloody holiday. So, stuck for something to do for the kids as a bit of a stocking filler. They open a card, and Dad's decided to take them to Stockholm in January. £70 each. Yes, it was cold, but so what? We got to go to the ABBA Museum. We had 2 nights. We slept in the Jumbo Stay Hotel, which is the quirkiest hotel in Europe. RIP Jumbo Stay, I'm afraid it's closed down now. £70 each to one of the most expensive cities in Europe. If you're trying to book Stockholm, you're looking at, you wouldn't be disappointed at £180 at the travel agent. In fact, you'd be quite chuffed. Boom, savings of over £100 each. That more than covered meatballs and beer. Boom, side quest to Krakow for Suin and her mum this time. This was during February half term. Suin just had to go back to Auschwitz and show it to her mum. Bang, £94 each, 3-night holiday. Half term, just gonna say that again. And my most recent escapade was Marrakesh for a week with Suin. It was unbelievable. As you've noticed all the way through, I've been flashing up clips to videos about these things. This one started at £100 each in June for a week in North Africa, including accommodation. In fact, it was so cheap I decided to rearrange it a bit, and I upgraded it to include a 3-day safari and the final half of the hotel stay in a 4-star hotel with pool, and it still only came in at £231. I'll be honest, if I went back, I would probably do the £100 in a riad. The riads are great. It's a different culture, but it's still on the same time zone as the UK. A lot of people do it for a weekend. June will be hot, it's a little bit steeper in the winter, but bang, where else can you get a week on another continent for £100? I calculate my savings there. Well, if you'd gone to the travel agent, they'd have sent you to Agadir, which is not Marrakesh. Marrakesh is magic, and it would have been £300 or £400 each. Let's do the maths. Let's talk numbers. Across the last 3 years, I've booked 9 trips, some short haul, some long haul, all done without using a travel agent. Now, Tokyo alone was £1,100 per person, so I can't pretend this is some ultra budget compilation album. But when I added it all up, this is what I found. Total cost for all 9 holidays was $2,446. That's $272 per trip. Now obviously that's skewed massively by Tokyo. But you're talking, I've done 2 long haul trips. New York as a bonus side quest, Marrakesh for a week, a 747 stay, Athens twice, you're getting the idea. Now let's compare what you'd have paid using travel agents. Tokyo alone would have been £1,800 at minimum. The Toronto with New York add-on would have been £1,200. That's not including all the rest. You're already way over what I spent. I genuinely think, even going with budget trips with travel agents, you would have been looking at about £4,500 a head for the same set of trips. That is savings of way over £2,000, I'd say closer to £2,500 per head for doing it yourself. Yeah, not everybody does 9 holidays in 3 years, but some people do. But let's go back to what let's wind it right back again. My budget for 3 years with all those places was less than £2,500. Now, per person, but how many people do a trip to Disneyland once at £2,500 a head? Bang. We're talking 3 years worth of holidays. If you only go once a year and spend £800 a head, you're still talking £3,200 for 3 holidays. I've had 9. It's got to be worth a try. Did I have any regrets? None whatsoever. Now either I'm an expert or things don't go wrong. Let's start by talking about how you can start doing this and my tips for building your own travel hacking habit. It's not rocket science, it's just travel smarter. I'm not coding algorithms, gaming the matrix or secretly working at Heathrow. I just stop letting the same old booking habits limit my adventures, and if I can figure this stuff out between family, work and reheating leftovers, you definitely can too. So if you sat there thinking, alright Ian, I'm tempted but I wouldn't know where to start, that's where I come in. I'm your travel savvy mate who lives in your iPhone and shouts, wait, that's overpriced every time you almost book something daft. Seriously though, I share new ideas every week, real prices, real bookings, tips that actually work, and the odd video about how to dodge a £7 airport coffee. Next week I'll be doing an in-depth Google Flights guide on how I search, compare and find those crazy fares. No jargon, no fluff, just my method start to finish. Now, I'm fairly new on this YouTube journey and today was an amazing day. I had my first super thanks. Now I'm not going to ask people for them, but it just made me realise that I must be doing something right. The guy that left it, and thank you ever so much, you know who you are, had taken one of my tips and booked the same hotel as me. I am nervous now that he doesn't like it. However, really nice gesture. The money isn't what I'm looking for, it was the recognition that I'd done someone a solid. Thank you. But if you really want to help me out, hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications before I drop off your algorithm, and let's see what we can get to do together for often less than £100, because holidays don't need to cost the earth, you just need the right guide. And I hope it's me.